Whoa, what's up, everybody? Thursday, September 14th, you feeling good? Are you back in school? Are you back to work? I don't know. What are you? Anyway, here we are, another episode today. Great guest. Nick Thune is my guest today, the comedian Nick Thune. I've known this guy since I started comedy, almost 8 years ago now. I would see him around clubs, strumming a guitar, delivering some incredible, funny, dry one-liners and stuff. And I was like, God, that guy's a great writer. And fell in love with his comedy. There's those guys out there like Jeselnik, Nick Thune, Daniel Tosh. They were kind of this edgy, fun, smart, comedy. I'm always like, God, I need to read more. So I can be a better writer. But it was great to finally have him on. We ran into each other a couple weeks ago at an airport. That's the amazing thing of doing comedy. You'll just be at some airport and run into another comic. It happens all the time. It's amazing. You're just like, hey, fucking Delta, whatever flight you're on. That guy's flight's fucked too. And you end up, talking and bonding at an airport. After all these years of knowing Nick, it was probably the longest I got to hang out with him. As long as I ever got to hang out with him. Longest I ever hung out with him in one sitting was at the Burbank airport, and it was great. I love the guy. We bonded over French Bulldogs years ago. He has a French bully, and I always want one. I was like, could you bring your dog to the gig like a weirdo? Come on, man, bring him to the show. Anyway, Nick Thune's my guest today. Rare comedian guest, rare comic stand-up guest. I love having guys on that I would see when I was starting out and just be like, oh, that guy's interesting, man. Let's see. Before I do get into the guest, a couple things here. Incredible show this weekend. Steve Agee and I are hosting a benefit for Brian O'Connor, BOC, bass player for Eagles of Death Metal. Benefit down. Let's see. First of all, I want to give you his GoFundMe page. We're fighting his cancer. We're gonna be battling that goddamn cancer, the evil cancer. Go to GoFundMe.com /BOCS-medical-fund. Donate to our man right there. Another rock and roller without health care, I believe. Or if he does have health care, it's not covering everything, It's brutal out there. You play music all your life. And then if you get sick or something, you're like, who's going to help me out here? It's the downfall of doing art, man. It sucks. But this guy's badass, and we're going to do a little benefit show this weekend. Let me give you the rundown of where that is. Of course, as I scroll through the goddamn Twitter feed and hope to find it. Fucking dumb am I. I don't know why I don't have this stuff ready to go. I just go like, oh yeah, I know what's happening. And then I can't fucking find it. I got to find out. Oh, I know. Steve Agee's Twitter will have it. Steve Agee's on it. He is on it. Steve Agee, you guys know him. Love him. From The Baked Show. Here it is. Got it. See? Go right to Steve Agee's site and boom. There it is. Okay. This Saturday, Pappy and Harriet's in Pioneer Town, California, 5 p.m. Let me tell you what's going on. Mark Lanigan, Chris Goss, Mojave Lords, Boneacre, and some secret guest. I'm not going to tell you who it is. And then me and Steve Agee doing comedy and hosting. I'm going to be singing a little bit also. I'm going to do some fucking AC/DC. And I can't wait to see Goss again and Lanigan. This is going to be great. It's this Saturday, September 16th, 5 p.m. Fucking get in your car or whatever you got, your helicopter, your plane, your motorhome, your motorcycle, and wing it down to Pioneer Town. you can go to Ticketfly and get tickets. It's going to be an epic night, and it's all for BOC. So get that. And also Chicago, I will be out your way September 28th through the 30th, Rosemont Zanies with Josh Wolf on the Saturday night. Okay, I love all you guys, and I'm glad you tuned in. I felt like doing a Thursday episode. I do a lot of Thursday episodes for many years, but then I felt like doing too much, man. I can't fucking sit down and write comedy and go tour and everything, and then do 2 podcasts a week, and you know, maybe just leave you guys with 1 a week, and you guys appreciate it more. You know what I mean? Anyway, so this is a great day. And go see Nick Thune. He's going to be at the Parlor in Seattle all this weekend. Got a new sponsor, which is very cool. New sponsor keeping the lights on, Bombfell. Bombfell. You asked me what Bombfell is. I'm going to tell you right now. A lot of people always email me, hey, man, where can I get some cool clothes? Where do I buy clothes at? Where do you get your clothes at? People always emailing me, asking me that. And now you can have your very own stylist. That's what Bombfell it is. I actually tried it. It's great. You go on the website and you basically sign up. You pay $0. You don't pay any fees unless you keep the clothes. This is the only website that offers that. There are no fees. You go on there. And I did it. You tell them what your sizes are, what your flavor is, what kind of style you are. A lot of guys hate shopping. I don't hate shopping. I love it. I'm a fucking lunatic. But most guys I know go, oh, God, I hate shopping. So this is for you right here. You got to hit it. Bombfell, bombfell.com. And you go on the website and you basically, you fill out the stuff, fully personalized, for you, your body style, and your flavor of clothing. The stylist emails you, and you got 48 hours to make up your mind on changes of clothes. Like they show you some stuff, some ideas, and if you don't like it, you go, no, I'm not really into that. And if you are into it, they send it out, and you try it on, you dig it, you pay for it. If you don't, you send it back for free, man. No skin off their back. And you can sign up totally free, doesn't charge you anything. And you can get stuff every month, every 2 months, every 3 months. Doesn't even matter. Just sign up, get a preview email, set up your order, receive the clothing. I got it right here. I got a cool flannel and some jeans. Yeah, imagine me. I got flannels and jeans. Ooh, I went outside the box. Yeah, man, it is great. I loved it, man. They nailed it for me big time. Right now, special offer. Go to bombfell.com. Use my code DEAN, all capitals. Punch in my code. It supports the podcast. It's going to be great for you. I know a lot of people live places where there's not good stores. You know, I travel around America. I'm like, God, there's no good stores out here to buy stuff. Get $25 offers for your first purchase. $25 off your first purchase if you enter in Dean. Spell it out. Okay, I'll spell it for you guys. BOMBFELL.com. Bombfell. Check out. Use the promo code DEAN. Do not miss that. Please check out the website. New sponsor. I love these guys. Actually, pretty cool. I got to admit it. Pretty cool. You know, like I really watch out for what sponsors I put on here. Of course, you know, I got Harley Davidson, Elkhorn Harley Davidson. I got Earthquaker. Now I got Bombfell. Cool shit. It's not all that dumb stuff like, yeah, baby. Anyway, Bombfell. Use the code DEAN. Super easy to use, man. Check it out. Bombfell. And also Elkhorn Harley. You know I love them. Elkhorn Harley, my number one motorcycle sponsor. Go to elcoandharley.com and look at the 2018 Harley Davidsons right there on the website. You can fill out a credit app. It's super easy to get financed, I'm telling you. And then go down and pick up your new motorcycle. I love the brand new CVOs, man. They're knocking me out. The CVO Street Glide and the Battleship Gray. I cannot get enough of that. Man, I need that bike, Greg Riley. Hit up Greg Riley. Go down and test ride a bike. I still haven't gotten down there. I've been so damn busy. I got to get down there and ride these new bikes. I think I'm going to go maybe Sunday or Monday. Anyway, Elko and Harley, I love you. Bombfell, I love you. Let's get into this show right now. My man is here. I love him. Comedian Nick Thune. How are you, buddy?
I'm good.
Nick Thune over here.
In the man cave.
Yeah. How do you like it? It's just full of eBay stuff. Can I interest you in some speakers or a pair of shoes or books?
You're selling these things on eBay?
Just anything over in this corner so it doesn't go back in the fucking garage.
And that's just old stuff you had that you want to get rid of?
Yeah, it just sits in the garage, and if I put it in there, it won't fucking go away. So I just keep it in here and...
make yourself live with it.
Yeah. It slowly goes away. It's weird. Shit sells, and then it doesn't sell for months. I don't know what it is.
I have a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And we just moved from we bought a house. We just moved from a rental, like a bigger kind of house that you can rent. Sometimes you can afford something crazy. And it had a 4-car garage. Just ridiculous.
Whoa, where was that? 4-car garage, my dream.
A big 3-car garage and then a smaller side 1-car garage that you could
for
also...
like motorcycles.
Yeah, and
that's
that
how
one,
I look at that. Yeah.
That one had like a wooden... the other one was big wooden slide doors that were about 20 feet high.
Yeah.
So it's like a 120-year-old house. And the other one was like the accordion wooden doors that never worked right. So you just kept it closed all the time. But... the amount of stuff that I gathered, and when you just moved a month ago, my wife's trying to hold me accountable. Like, why do you need all this?
Yeah.
And I guess I'm an organized hoarder, I guess.
Yeah, man. It's I've been slowly trying to. I talk about it on many episodes, but of course I watched that. What was that one about the dudes where they just the Minimalist? Did you watch that documentary?
No, but I like. When I see somebody that lives that way, it impresses me so much.
Right. It's funny because I ran into you in the airport, and you travel like me with nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't hoard. I don't bring stuff with me. But I bring stuff back. Like, I just did a gig this weekend, and it was like a branded gig in Northern California in the Redwoods, which is just like, I stayed in a teepee with a queen size, like a luxury teepee.
Yeah.
It was the most fun.
Comedy?
Yeah. I performed at 11:30 after a band. Actually, this guy, Alex Cameron, he's really good if you haven't listened to it. But I did an hour set. But when I got there, that had like a swag bag. And then in that swag bag, it tells you about all the other frees, because it's all outdoor branding. So there was like a hatchet company.
Wow.
So I have a hatchet on the way to the house right now.
I can't fly with a hatchet.
No. And I got like 3 new coffee mugs, but like really nice thermos.
Yeah.
Shoes, just stuff. They offered me a bike, and I was just like, I want it, but I've got 2 bikes already.
Yeah. It's crazy because you get these gift bags, and you're like, I got to take that, and then you get home, and they're fucking over there. Look in the corner, just shit, like.
Well, also the amount of gifts that I took.
Yeah.
I'd only brought my, like you said, I travel really light. I just had that like North Face backpack that I travel with, that like waterproof, kind of. Yeah. River bag, and thought, God, I got to get rid of some of this free stuff. And then I saw one of the postcards. That bag, that company Eagle Creek?
Yeah.
They were like, if you can find us tomorrow, we have a streamlined trailer in the forest on a fire road, and if you can find us, we'll give you a free bag. And so like on my way, I had to hike and find this airline trailer just to get a bag to put basically 2 smaller bags in.
A bag to carry the other 2 bags of shit.
And I want to thank Eagle Creek. It's a great bag.
It's right now, that stuff's in your garage.
Yeah. And when I got home, my wife was just, because I bring stuff in and kind of set it down, and then.
Yeah. When you go home now and you look at your new house that you bought, you look at it like, wow, Jokes bought that,
Yeah. Also, the Uber driver's response every time we pull up to the house, because it definitely sticks out in the neighborhood that we live in. So because it's a brand new build, and it's like not an old neighborhood, but it's been around. It's definitely the biggest house in the block.
Right.
And every time an Uber driver pulls up, they're just like, wow. And I go, yeah. And they're always like, I've had two of them be like, how much did that cost?
Oh, yeah.
And right. I'm just like, yeah, I'm never going to discuss that with you.
Uber driver. Hey, should I come back later and rob this place when you're on another trip?
People are so sensitive about Uber. I tweeted last night about Uber.
Yeah.
I tweeted last week about like how I think Uber is such a great way to get worse drivers on the road more often.
Yeah.
Because people are driving that would not normally be driving.
Yeah.
At all or that often.
My neighbor, 81 years old. He's Ubering. I'm like, what?
That's dangerous.
I know. And we just get in and put our faces in our phones and we don't even look
My
at
uncle
what the
drives
guy's doing.
Uber. My uncle drives. And
he's a drunk.
One time an Uber driver gave me a shot of whiskey when I was up in Park City.
Wow.
Because I'd gone to the wrong place and I got in and I go, what time do bars close? 'Cause I was supposed to meet friends and it's like, God, I just want to have a drink. I just did like 3 shows.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, you want whiskey? I was like,
I like to Uber with my booze.
Sure.
Yeah. I had a weird Uber. Guy picked me up at the Swingers.
You were at the club, Swingers Club.
Yeah, Swingers Club, after a night of fucking out. But Swingers
Getting
over
your
there,
ass
that
eaten out.
restaurant,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he pulled up and he had somebody in the front. And I was like, oh, no, I didn't ask for Uber pool. And I get in and I go, who's that? And he goes, it's my girlfriend. She's going to be riding with us. I'm like, that's an Uber pool. I like my shit to be like white trash limo. No one in it.
There should not be anybody in the car.
Nope.
They should never. My uncle said he actually learned a lesson from me because I get really frustrated with questions.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk. You
Yeah,
know? And I
either.
feel like Lyft is a place where people are trying to network.
Yeah.
And so Uber, we're paying them for service, and we're fucking idiots for doing. We should never pay these people to drive us. They're totally unqualified.
Yeah.
And we're basically dumb enough to be putting our life at risk that you should just leave us alone.
Yep.
And I tweeted that last night, and it's kind of fun. Like I said to my Uber driver, I'm having a tough day, so if he could never ask anybody questions again, I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
and like people are like, you're an asshole, you're a dick, and I'm like, first of all, these are probably Uber drivers responding.
Your own followers said that?
Yeah, some people. It also got retweeted a lot. So this was from other. This morning I woke up to some guy saying, you are an asshole. And so I clicked on his page. He wasn't following me. Says he lives in Chicago. Hit the first line in his bio is family man.
Family man.
And so I just he wrote, you are an asshole. I wrote back, you are a family man. And then he responded to me saying, have we met before? And I said, no, I just read your bio, you troll.
Yeah.
Whenever someone trolls me, I read their page. And he goes, you're the troll. You read my page.
Wow.
And I go, no, I'm not. And he goes, you're a faggot.
Wow.
And he goes, and you just because I didn't like your gay ass tweet. And I go,
he actually said you're a faggot?
yeah. And then
That's a family man.
Yeah. So then I go, does your family and coworkers know that you talk this way?
Yeah.
And he goes, I stand behind everything I say. And then I just literally 20 seconds of a Google found his LinkedIn page where the company that he works for.
Yeah.
Screenshot it, wrote it back, and I go, well, then you won't mind if I email the company.
Oh, no way,
Screenshots
dude.
of our interaction, do you?
Really?
And he writes back a genuine, I'm very sorry, I will delete these. And I go, yeah, I guess, in a few tweets to him, I said, freedom of speech is important to me, and I don't think people should lose jobs for an accidental, depending on who they are, depending on the situation. But I'm not going to turn you into your boss for calling me a faggot, and basically just like I'm a 37-year-old dad who woke up today by someone I don't know saying that I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
So sometimes it kind of takes me the wrong way to where I'm going to screenshot your LinkedIn page and say, you want to get fucked, bro? Because I could take your day and do a full 180 on it if you want. So freedom of speech is great.
I can't believe you engage.
I never do. It just caught me this morning. I woke up at 6 this morning and and I knew my son was good till 7, and so I just thought, well, let's get into it.
Wow. It's so funny, man. I don't engage because,
I never do. That's like a bad example of my interactions.
The people you engage with, they don't matter. You know what I mean?
None of them were ever that bad. I've had one person I think it's a girl that has written me 2 emails 2 years apart. And both the emails are so cutting.
Yeah.
Like it's somebody that knows too much about me.
Right.
And
stalker stuff?
Stuff that makes me like worried. Like, man, I wonder if like, am I on a list of people you're going to murder in every couple of years? Like,
yeah.
But just stuff like you honestly, like, you're such a fake. Like, your money's fake. And like, it's somebody I think from church, like when I used to go to church, because one time they asked me like how my testimony was.
Yeah.
Which, do you know what a testimony is? It would be like if you're in recovery and you like share your story with somebody, but like it would be like your testimony at church would be like the way that you found Jesus, and you share that to people, and hopefully it affects them positively. And it's your testimony, and it's a popular thing for people to share. And how's your testimony? And I wanted to be like, I think I have less money than you probably assume I do.
Right.
People think if you've been on the Tonight Show that you're a fucking millionaire.
Oh, it's crazy. Like people, sometimes they'll say, hey, you want to donate to the podcast, hit Patreon, and people are like, what do you need donations for? Aren't you already rich? And it was like, whoa, are you out of your mind?
Now that I've made more money, it's a lot harder for me to go do a set at the, Burbank lot, whatever, cha-cha room, whatever they call it over there.
Yeah. I mean,
on a Tuesday. I used to do that, 4 times a day. Like,
I'll do it no matter what. I love doing comedy. I won't do bar shows anymore. And also, I don't do shows where it's far away and the guy's like, hey, can you come to Orange County for $20?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what?
I used to do that every week. They would just be like, yeah, if you want to like hop in a car with somebody, you can do 5 minutes or whatever. And I would do that. And I would drive down and do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. I went to fucking Bakersfield for 8 minutes when I started.
When you started. Oh,
I've done all the shit. I love when people go like, oh, well, you need to do that. And I go, I've done over 3,500 spots. I've done those. Believe me, 6 times a night.
Well, what's funny is that means you're a comedian. And last night it's funny, like I never interact on Twitter, but I got another thing based off that Uber tweet. So like this Uber tweet caused a bit of a thing. Like people were like thinking I was being an asshole and being arrogant, like not wanting to talk to a person that I'm in a car with, which I don't. Yeah. Honestly don't.
Yeah. Well, let's also explain what happens here. People don't understand. You're on a 5-hour fucking flight usually, or 3 or 4.
Oh, yeah.
So even if the flight's 3 hours, it's 2 more hours of there and back and traffic. And
you've had to interact with people all day.
TSA, everything.
Strangers.
So when you land and the car finally shows up at LAX, which is like 20 minutes later, and you get in, you're just like, oh, God, I'm almost home. That's your fucking frame of mind. Like you're just starting to decompress from the road.
And my tweet, I would never say. It's a joke. That's what we do. We make so that was just me actually like watching the Dodger game last night after my wife went to bed, and like I was like, oh, this is a funny idea.
Yeah.
And if I was in a car and somebody talked to me, of course I'm going to speak to them. I'm not a monster. Yeah. I have been in a car with a comedian before that said, hey, sorry, sir, I actually really don't feel like talking right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, you said it politely.
Yeah.
I would never say that.
Instead of back there like, peasant, drive on.
But this was like a limo.
Yeah.
Or not, it was a nice town car. And
right.
I was opening for the guy. So
when I'm in town cars, I never talk.
They don't. They're pros.
Yeah, they're pros.
See, my uncle, he's down in San Diego, and he is this stud of a guy. Like, people just fucking love him. His whole life he's been loved. Perpetually single. Everyone calls him the dude.
He's like
he wears
Jack
cargo
Tripper
pants.
Or actually, did you see Men of a Certain Age? Remember that series?
I never saw it.
Oh my God, what a fucking show, man!
Yeah.
I'm 51, and if you watch this show,
I could tell just by
I couldn't believe how great the writing was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was impeccable. But they had the one guy who was just basically, picking up on the 19-year-olds, baristas and stuff.
Oh God, one time we had him over for Thanksgiving, and we went to a friend's house. Total side story, but at the time we lived in a loft, and he stayed on the couch downstairs with my brother, couch bed. But it was open air up to me and my wife's room. My wife and I were falling asleep, and my Uncle Rod said to my brother loud enough, not knowing that we could hear him, that he wanted to eat the ass out of one of my wife's friends. And said her by name. And my wife was sitting next to me, just are you fucking kidding me? And I was like,
your uncle.
He's a cool uncle, dude.
Wow.
He's an Uber driver. He's an Uber
driver. Can you imagine the shit he's saying while he's driving? Oh my god.
Oh no, he's so pro though.
Yeah.
He's a pro driver. He's great. He drives like a Ford and like, but he has like customers.
Yeah.
And he's like,
real ones.
and he's like, Nick, I drove the guy. He was this company names like this a real huge company.
Yeah.
And he's like, I drove the CEO of that company to the airport the other day. Now he's my regular customer. And he's like, he loves meeting people. And I told him how much it annoys me. And the next time I saw him, I could tell he took a little offense.
Yeah.
The next time I saw him, he's like, I actually took a little turn from your thing. I don't initiate.
Yeah.
And if somebody initiates, then we talk.
Right.
And that's all I want. And I even sometimes like get into a car and don't want to talk. And then halfway through the drive, I'm like, fuck it. Say something.
Ooh.
And you're like hitting a light switch. And
Oh,
they're
yeah,
just
you
like,
engaged.
Oh, yeah. And I don't mind sometimes.
Yeah.
But, this Uber thing, then somebody wrote back and accused me of stealing it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
stealing
from
the
who?
tweet. Yeah.
And then they tagged this girl, and I go, will you show me the tweet?
Yeah.
And it turns out it was a YouTube star.
Uh-huh.
And then the guy.
Hey, hold on. It was a YouTube person.
Yeah.
Don't ever use
The
that
word star. Well, wait till you hear all the reaction here.
Oh, yeah.
So the guy was like, I go, show me the tweet. And he goes, it wasn't a tweet. One time she talked about not wanting to talk to Uber drivers in a video.
Oh,
and I
fuck.
go, and so with her tagged, I go, there's a big difference between a YouTube star saying something in a video and a comedian writing a joke.
Yeah.
And then she started attacking. Like, and I spelled your wrong, Y-O-U-R rather than
Yeah,
I-N-E.
of course, yeah.
So that's the first thing she goes for is the spelling.
Of course,
mistake.
yeah.
And then she is a comedian. And then I look on her website. She considers herself a pop singer. She just released a single. She's got a book. She calls herself an author, YouTube personality, actress, and comedian. And she says that she goes on stage at the Laugh Factory. And like finally I go, listen, I'm not trying to start a beef with you. Like I could go on and on about in direct message. I go on and on about how you haven't earned being a comedian.
Yeah.
Because you can't go in front of an audience of people that don't know you and get a laugh.
Right.
How many times did you drive, like we said, to Bakersfield for 8 minutes?
Yeah.
Or, like when did you ever do? You haven't. You have an audience that you gained from making, basically, I didn't say this, shitty things. And they'll die for you. That's great. I mean, they're fucking attacking me on Twitter right now.
Yeah.
So I deleted the whole trail. I was like, I'm not even going to.
I was just looking at this. I found this. It fell out of my notebook, and it's the amount of spots I've done each year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So I'm
See, I never kept track.
I kept
except
track
for 1 year.
Yeah, I kept track because I thought at first I didn't think I was going to go that long. So I'd be like, in case I ever write a book, here's the time I did comedy for 10 days in a row, or whatever.
I did. I started and I was doing like one set a week, and I wasn't really hanging around comedians. I knew nothing about how to get into it. And
started in Seattle?
Yes, and then came down here and was still on that path. Like I found an open mic. I was like, cool. So I'm working during the day. I'll write stuff all week, and then I'll come here on every Thursday and work it out.
Right.
I thought that was how it went.
Yeah.
Then I met Natasha Leggero and I think Owen Benjamin, and they were like, come to this show. And I start meeting people, and I think like Duncan Trussell was like, yeah, man, you have to go up every night.
Yeah.
I was like,
I love Duncan.
Yeah. And so for the next year, I did 500 something sets. Like
Wow.
570 or some numbers. Just some crazy, like in LA, it's hard to get that many sets.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I made, I think at one year up to 600 or something right there. It was like.
It's crazy, but you
on
can.
a motorcycle too,
Oh, yeah. That's also dangerous.
Yeah. Now, here's something I specifically remember. I was doing the improv with you one night, and it was kind of the first night you went on without your guitar. If people don't know you, Nick was a guitar comic. Is the entire history of your career. I don't know how many years you've been doing comedy.
Yeah.
But since I met you, you were a guitar comic. I played music 25 years. It was something everybody always asked me, how come you don't bring the guitar on stage? And I was like, absolutely not. I was just so against it, And then I remember you were doing the French Bulldog bit, no guitar. What's happening there? You're off the guitar and...
Yeah, I never would have considered myself a guitar comic just because, like, I would consider a guitar comic somebody that's like...
wacky songs.
Yeah, which I think, like, I can't even think of his name right now, but like there's a guy that like early on Comedy Central presents Steven something, that was like he would have really funny songs, great voice, like it's great, funny. Adam Sandler I thought was super funny.
Right.
But I was more inspired by like the joke writing, and so just
Stephen Wright, shit like that, one-liner stuff.
And I just got, I put out 2 albums, and I think like you could listen to my 2 albums, and those my first 2. Thick Noon is the first one, and Folk Hero is the second one, and they're different. They're different jokes,
right?
And there is some different structural things with longer stories and stuff. But I just felt like you could have it's the same album. You just changed the words a bit,
Right.
And I just didn't want my whole career to be like trying to. And I also was just kind of sick of it. You kind of like
carrying that thing around.
And also, I was really, I think cutting myself short of a broader audience,
Yeah.
Like, and not that my last album is, it's still kind of like not for a fully broad audience, but I thought, why don't I just go out there and challenge myself and actually try and grow in another way.
What made you start with the guitar? Just as a crutch? Like, okay, I want to go up there. Were you a musician before?
No, I just loved it. I just thought it was so much fun. I had...
Were you a musician before?
Yeah, I was in a cover band, and I played music at church too. I was in the church band. And I loved it. I was never as good as my other friends, but I was the charismatic guy on stage, and so I had like a project when I was like 19 at school, and it was like, I had to give a presentation, and I just decided to like strum my guitar and give the presentation.
Right.
And it went over great. Like I got like laughs, and it was just weird. And I just started like taking like this kind of character of a guy that like is a musician that takes himself seriously, but then says things you don't expect him to say.
Right. Yeah. Like if you had Springsteen or Neil Young on the serious side, but then they were doing wacky jokes. That's an interesting juxtapose, right?
Yeah, and that's what. And then it became more like less like playing a character and more me, especially as I went on. But in the beginning, I kind of had not like Anthony Jeselnik, but kind of this guy that looks down, like obviously he's playing a character.
Yeah. I'm super hot. I'm better than all you guys. All that. Jeselnik is also somebody that I absolutely love in the comedy world. And I thought that his last special, when he gets to the 40-minute mark and then talks about the Comedy Central trouble that he had, I thought was some of the best comedy I'd seen in the last 10 years. And I was like, I remember seeing him in the parking lot at the store right after, and I was like, is that going to be your new style? And he's all, I don't know. It's just how it came out. But it was interesting to see him go off of the standard Jeselnik like you with no guitar.
Well, him and I used to tour together.
Yeah.
And here's when our touring together ended.
Yeah.
Was when he did his first roast, and it was of Charlie Sheen.
Oh, yeah.
It aired the weekend before him and I were co-headlining Caroline's.
Yeah.
In New York.
Uh-huh.
And the audience drastically changed in that week that was coming to our show. People that wanted to get roasted wanted to see Anthony, and not people that were like, I wonder how... and what's funny is Anthony and I have never talked about it. Still, actually, which is kind of funny. But there's this girl, Emily Heller, now that we both used to open for. And the way that Anthony and I would co-headline is sometimes he would close and then I would close, back and forth every other show. And at one point I said to him, like, hey man, if you want to just close these shows, like these people, like they love you, like, and
because he had blown up from the roast
just in that week,
right?
Like all these people from New Jersey just like came running over the fucking bridge to see him.
That's
in the tunnel.
That's an amazing power too, because usually people see people on TV and they doesn't move butts into the seats.
Well, that's
anymore.
when the roasts were at
here. It's gotcha.
Huge,
and those were fire. That Charlie Sheen one. Wow, yeah, huge. Right.
And so he said, "No, you can close." Like, and I just always I remember like kind of being like, come on, man, you just do it,
Yeah.
But then later, this girl, Emily Heller, that is open for him and that opened for me, I was telling her that story, and she was like, what's so crazy is Anthony told me the same story and how different your guys' perspectives are. He didn't want you to feel bad So he didn't want to act like he was bigger than you and could close all the shows.
Wow.
And you wanted him, just by hearing the story, you wanted him to.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Why didn't we ever discuss that?
Like, poor Nick, I passed him in 1 week.
I had zero ego about it. I wanted to have a good set, and these were not good closing sets. But
that was early on in my comedy, I never say career, my comedy career.
Yeah.
But that was early on in my comedy world, and I remember I didn't know who Anthony was, and Amy Schumer. I guess he was dating her at the time, and they came to Meltdown to do the jokes, to practice them. And I thought that he possibly was the funniest guy I'd ever seen because it was so evil and rad.
Oh my God.
Because he looked like a Soch from like The Outsiders or the bad guys on, like the Animal House or any of those bad guys from the 80s films with the sweater.
Total Soch. Yeah.
Total Soch. But murdered it with the most edgy jokes I had ever heard because I loved
with zero
edge.
shame and zero
And fuck you, Incredible.
No, they really. I remember one of his first jokes that I heard that I think, and this was like just as he was starting to, and he used to host a show at Buzz Coffee on Melrose across from Erewhon Groceries, and was like
there's a show there.
Yeah, it was like a 7 o'clock show or 6 o'clock show.
How long ago is this?
10 years ago.
Wow.
And that's where I met him, and he told this joke I'll never forget. I mean, 2 jokes. One of his jokes was my girlfriend. And I'm not good at impressions. My girlfriend, she's addicted to chocolate. She loves chocolate. So one day I put her in the car and I drove her down to Skid Row and saw a crack addict. And I pointed at her and I said, "Why can't you be that skinny?" And that's not the exact wording of the joke. I just remember seeing that. I was like, shit, dude. And then he had this other one. I don't think he ever put this one on anything.
Yeah.
But it was... I used to mow lawns. I used to mow the lawn down at the battered women's clinic, if you know what I mean. This is like, but I remember like hearing those 2 jokes at Buzz Coffee as he was kind of finding his voice and like really, getting deeper and realizing how hard he can go. You know?
Well, at the time when I was starting, I was way into, say, like CK and these kind of storytelling kind of guys of like a Burr or a Marin and stuff. And then I start seeing you, Tosh, and Jeselnik, and I'm like, oh man, that's some different writing, Like I grew up on Stephen Wright, and I love Stephen Wright, and I understand the dynamics of that, but I still don't know how to sit down and actually write that way. I'll get lucky and get one, like I got one about cheap gas in Toledo, Ohio. That was just luck, how it just takes the right turn. But it's an interesting thing. Did you sit down and learn to write that? Were you a different style before? Or
I remember the first one that I wrote was I was at an open mic at this place called Hallenbeck's. It was a sandwich shop, coffee shop in North Hollywood on Magnolia. And it was the place where you go and you pay $7 and they give you a ticket, and that's how you perform.
Right.
And that ticket also gives you a sandwich.
Wow.
So you take the ticket up and then you say, "I want a ham sandwich or roast beef or whatever."
Now they got that same thing, but no sandwich.
Good for them.
The owners of all those fucking when I started, it was $5, but you got a drink. And people would be like, "It's $5." I go, well, yeah, but they give you a fucking beer or whatever. It's free. People don't understand.
It's their way of guaranteeing that you're cheap. You're not being fucking
stay
cheap.
Open with nothing. And people don't be that much of a dick. Yeah. But when they took it away, then I was like, oh, now they're just being dicks,
The same place, Hallenbeck's?
No, but it's just places that had $5 mics,
Yeah, so I wrote my first I had jokes and I had a story that I'd come down with that I eventually did on The Tonight Show, something I wrote before I was even here.
Right.
That became better here. But I was in the bathroom and I was up next and I was peeing because the way that I would write them and the way that I still do write some jokes is I play with a phrase that's either common that I'm aware of or that I just heard somebody say that I think stood out to me. I was thinking about the whole my roommate walked in on me while I was masturbating line, and my roommate walked in on me masturbating. What's something funny I could be doing? And then I thought, wait, no, what if I walked in on my roommate while I was masturbating?
Oh, I know that one. I loved it when you did.
and so in a second, I wrote the best joke out of my whole act.
Yeah. How does it go?
Without knowing it. The joke, so I go on stage and I open with it.
Yeah.
And the way that I did it was, and I wrote it perfect. I wrote it the way that it always works, ever, forever. And this is the joke when someone goes, "You're a comedian, tell me a joke."
Oh, yeah.
It makes them laugh, even though I don't ever do it. I used to. But the joke goes, the other day my roommate walked in on me while I was masturbating. Oh my God, never mind. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I meant to say the other day I walked in on my roommate while I was masturbating. And my roommate's actually my wife, and she hates it when I call her my roommate or whatever. Just kind of went down this whatever longer thing eventually. But it crushed. I mean, I've never had that response. I was on that stage and I couldn't fucking believe it.
And then you're fucked, right? Because it's so big.
And I had nothing else. And half the people in there have seen me do my shit over and over. We're all traveling from open mics. It's not an audience. There are people that are waiting to get on stage. And they laughed because they didn't expect it. And it was one of those things, I got out of the bathroom and I wanted to pull all of them aside and be like, "Hey guys, I figured something out."
Yeah.
Instead I was like, I got to go on stage and show them. And I remember even this guy, Paul Danke, that's opening for me this weekend, he was there that night. And I remember him saying "Yeah, man."
So then you start to realize, okay, this is going to be my style. Because what I do is I basically just go on and talk, and then find some laughter, and then
work on that.
Yeah, and that takes a little bit of time. It's a must for stage time.
Yeah, and I have things like that I do now. But I also know going in, I've generally told somebody I've told it to a few people, and not like a bit. I've told somebody a story. For instance, I lie to I've been lying to my son, but not for malicious reasons, but he loves getting sent on a mission, he likes jobs.
Yeah.
Fun jobs that would be on these cartoons that he watches where it's Paw Patrol and it's these puppies that go and save a bird that's stuck in a tree or whatever. And they all have their own special things. So I'll say to him one time, I was like, "Hey man, why don't you go outside? There's all these ants under the deck, and I think they're in danger. If you could get those ants and we could move them up here." And he knows he doesn't need to get the ants, but I'm totally selling him on this mission. And he's like, okay. And he turns to go do it. And then I say to him, "I just need to know one thing though. Can I trust you?" And he looked at me and said, "What is trust?" And I remember just at the moment I thought this is a big moment.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm in the middle of lying to him.
Yeah.
But see, I remember in the moment thinking the trust thing, and it just ended at what is trust and me thinking it was a big moment. And then I took it to stage that weekend because I just wrote down what is trust. That's interesting. And I want to talk about being a dad and what that means to me. And I did the bit and then on stage said, and I was in the middle of lying to him, didn't even mean to say it. And it was the takeaway line from that hour that night because it was so natural. Yeah. And the laugh break was just huge. And that feeling of all right, well, that's 12 years of joke writing that just showing me that I actually can now do it in the moment. I can't take advantage of that because it's not always going to work. Right. But I can now. Yeah, I had another big one recently too on stage where you just do it and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah. But you ever have it goes, holy shit, but then the next time it doesn't work. Yes. That's weird.
Yes. And that is going to happen.
Yeah, because you go, ooh, I got a new 8 minutes or 6 minutes.
And sometimes you write, because I used to write stuff, I was writing, I had this gig once when Jay Leno took that primetime show, when Conan had the Tonight Show. I got hired to be a correspondent once a month. I had to write 5 minutes on a subject like daylight savings time or whatever. And I would go in and pitch it and they'd be like, yeah, do that. And then I'd write a 5-minute stand-up bit in a month and work it out on stage. So exhilarating and so forced me to bear down. Yeah. And with no help from anybody, And I remember I used to sometimes I would do the thing all right, computer on a table, start writing.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm just writing and about the topic. And this is one that I just never even expected to be a laugh. Yeah. And I wrote, enough is enough. It is. It's the same word. Yeah, and I just wrote that sentence. Yeah. And just didn't even think about it. And then, as I got the bit and went for the first time, it was the biggest laugh out of the whole fucking thing where I thought I had jokes everywhere. And it was so funny. And still to this day, one of my favorite joke writing experiences was that moment because I just wrote it fluently, like just cross, and I could say it on any stage in America right now and make it work really well.
Yeah,
based on my timing.
Yeah, right. And your cadence and style.
Yeah, and that's not saying it's a good joke. That's saying for me it works.
Because you just say it like that. Enough is enough. Yeah, it is. It's the same word. Like that. It doesn't. But the way you do it, the cadence and the style,
and that's what you learn over time too. And sometimes your voice, and your cadence, like guitar playing. Like when I first learned how to play guitar, I like G, C, and D, and it was just bam, 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 over and over. And then once you learn, you're like bam, 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 and you're like learning how to like make G and C and D.
So it doesn't sound like G, C, and D. Yeah, exactly.
Like I was like loving this Neil Young song last week that I've heard.
Which one?
Unknown Legend.
Okay.
I'd see you on a desert highway, and that song is fucking G and C.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Those are the only two chords.
Yeah.
It's insane. And it's a beautiful, because it bam, 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 bam. It has that like kind of riff that you'll never forget.
Yep.
It's so easy. But like, that was, I love that about it. I love that about writing when you like hit something and you kind of like think to just think to yourself for a second, like, I think I just stumbled onto something. I thought that today about something and told someone and it wasn't anything.
I find now when I'm on the road is where I can really figure it out, Like I'm trying to buckle down and get 5 clean for Conan because like Maron's like, come on, dude. It's time to fucking man up.
Yeah.
You can't do 5 minutes after 8 years, And I was like, well, I can, but I want it to be good. Like, I did a solo record, music. And I worked on that fucking thing for 2 years straight before I put the record out. And to me, I listen to the record now. I could hear it. It's at the jukebox at the 101 Cafe, and not once do I cringe. And I know people always go like, I listen back to my first.
That's pretty cool to be in a jukebox.
Yeah, I know, right? I didn't even know before one time I'm sitting in there and it just fucking came on, and I was like, hey, wait. For a second, I was like, that's fucking me. What the? And I ran over the jukebox and I told the guy, I go, that's me, man. And he's like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah, what the fuck is that?
I'm surprised he wasn't like, sure it is.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's me.
But it was
no, it's not, man.
So weird to hear yourself on a jukebox, But I never cringe. And, so I if I go on TV, I want it to be great. And I'm not in a hurry to shoot an hour. And people are like, where are your special and everything? And it's like, well, yeah, I am in a hurry because I'm 51.
Yeah.
And, and I can tell the stupid industry needs like, well, he hasn't done anything. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but fucking the other thing, I don't want to put garbage out there.
Getting that 5 minutes is easy once you know what it is.
Right.
But actually, I found the fear of it. Like, so like when I had like my last album come out, they were like, yeah, so if you want to like do, Fallon, then they want to know your 5 minutes. And
right.
I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Shit. I even went and I did that Weed Story for Fallon, right?
Yeah.
And I was in New York for another reason, and the booker came to just watch me at the Cellar.
Yeah, I like him.
I did it.
He's such a nice
different
guy.
Booker now. Different. This guy's now with a different show. Michael Cox, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael's a great guy.
Is he
was
gone?
The older booker.
Oh, I got you.
Michael's now the booker, yeah.
You know what's great about Michael was he said, yeah, man, turn into 5. And I said, okay. And then I worked on it for a little bit, and he goes, look, if it ain't you, you don't want to just water something down to be on the Tonight Show, which was so cool because I was trying to wedge something in there, And
well, but that's the thing is it only benefits him to get more. That's what I ever tell everybody. It's like, dude, send him your shit. He does. It's not like an exclusive club to send stuff.
Right.
It only makes him look better to bring somebody they don't even know on.
Yeah.
But so I went and did that set that the weed dog brownie. This is a bit off my new special about my dog eating a weed brownie, and I came out and the guy was like, listen, man, I love it. I just I don't think it's the right topic for the show. I think it's like, I don't think drugs are like, and I go, and I go, okay. And I thought about it a lot that night. And the next day I emailed him and I go, here's 5 reasons why I think you're absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
And I went through them all and he goes, listen, I'll fight for you, but like, I don't think it's going to work. And then I got a call later that day, it's approved. And I was like, yeah. So, sometimes you got to like believe in that material. Like even if the For Conan, you can do a lot crazy different stuff, but for the Tonight Show, they're a little more.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So Conan, I look at like Conan, you can get away with like I wanted to do this legalized Coke thing. You know, I believe in Coke should be legal. You know, how great would that be? You know, and no way that's going to fly on Fallon. Also,
and you don't do Coke.
No, but I believe in it because I did Coke for so long. You know what I mean?
Do you smoke weed?
No, that's just there for whoever wants to smoke it. You know what I mean? I do smoke. I'll smoke weed like once a year. I used to smoke it all the time until I started comedy, and I was like, I'm off because it was frying my short-term memory.
I definitely, in the beginning of my career, indulged in a lot of marijuana.
Yeah.
And I didn't really before comedy.
Yeah.
And then I started, and then it was I was just smoking before every show, after every show, every day.
I did that with my music.
Yeah.
After like thousands and thousands of gigs, I was like, fuck it, I'm going on stone just for the challenge and the weirdness of it.
Yeah.
Just because I wasn't punching in.
And then now I actually have fear of going on stage high.
Really?
Like I would never headline a show.
No way.
But I did it. I just did a festival in Winnipeg. In Winnipeg. I did one that one in San Fran, but in Winnipeg where they give me my show schedule and I'm like headlining, one night, and they go, and the next night we're having you do this alt show. I'm like, in my mind I just thought a lot of shows like at festival would be the alt show, like the alternative show. This stand-up's a little different than the other, or do your weirder shit at this show. And the day of the show I found out, no, it's like alternate states, like you have to do a drug.
Oh, wow.
And at first I was like, I feel like you should have like,
yeah, see if you do drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What if you're on probation?
They were like, we've seen your stuff, man. We know you're on something.
Yeah.
And I did weed, and it was really fun.
Yeah.
But like that's a 7-minute performance,
Yeah. Where even if you've melted down in 7 minutes, it'd be cool. You're like, I'm out of there. But an hour and something goes wrong, like a bad edible, too strong.
Oh my God.
Whoa. I was in Vancouver doing a music show when I was on tour. And I'd smoke weed all the time before gigs and was backstage. And this guy was like, dude, get stoned? And I was like, oh, yeah, fuck yeah. We're just about to go on. And I took a couple hits. And he's like, it's really strong, man. So, ease up on it. I was like, yeah, fuck, I get stoned every night. And I went on. And first fucking song, I was like, oh, no. Oh,
we're going to get loose out here.
I'm not going to make it. I kept thinking I was not going to make it. God. And so we're riffing, like we were kind of a jammy, not like The Dead, but more like a Black Crowes bluesy rock jamming going on at the front. And I'm just looking over at the band like, keep going for a little bit. Let me fucking ride this out. Oh my God.
I've never been stoned. I'm not going to make it on stage, but I one time was hungover. I'm not going to make it on stage because I did a show. My friend had a bachelor party in Huntington Beach, and then I did a 7 o'clock show after a weekend on a Sunday night at UCB. And I got there, like, they're like, what's wrong, man? I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, your skin. Like, and I looked in the mirror, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm like pale and dripping and sweat. And like,
yeah.
I like brought a garbage can back by that curtain and I vomited in the middle of the set. And then felt great.
Yeah, right. Then you feel good. It's like, I don't know why you battle vomit.
Why did I not just let it happen?
Just let that shit go out.
It doesn't hurt anymore. We're not 12. It's not a...
Yeah.
By the way, I feel like what you guys don't know by listening to this podcast is that Dean has his heater on.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, you know what's weird is I usually have the AC on, but it wasn't that warm today. And now that we've had the door closed.
Well, it's what it is my body heat.
Yeah, no, I get fucking hot too, dude. You know what I mean?
I get hot. I sweat.
I sweat like crazy.
I did I was doing At Midnight once, and I was wearing a black shirt. Like normally I like to wear black because you can't see the armpits, Oh, I did a movie once where they had 4 girls holding 2 of my shirts, and they were blow drying the armpits. They were shooting down on like 100-degree beach somewhere. But on At Midnight, they come out, in between commercials, and they'll give you a bottle of water, and Bart will be like, all right, so here's your card for the next one. These are the jokes you wrote, whatever.
I wouldn't know. I've never got to do it.
Never?
Out of the 10 million years.
Oh, my God.
Over and over. No manager, no agent. Meanwhile, I'm just going like, really? I'm never going to be on here?
I can't believe you didn't get
ever
somebody to get you on.
I tried, man.
Well... Yeah, in the commercial break, they were like, "Hey, we're gonna put some things in your armpit. Do you mind?" So I take my shirt off.
Yeah.
And I've done the show enough times, and that's not bragging, to where I know how long. It's 2 minutes. That's all they cut for.
Yeah.
give you a sip of water, check your makeup. And it had been 5 minutes. And people are talking, and I start to realize, I've been standing here shirtless for 5 minutes. And so I say to the producer, I go, hey, are we not going because of my shirt? And they're like, yeah, they're blow drying it right now. And so I said, how about this? I go, here's an idea. What if we just, and I've got a microphone taped to my bare chest.
Come back, no shirt?
Come back, no shirt, never mention it.
Yeah.
Go back again for commercial, come back, shirt.
Yeah.
And they were like, great, let's roll.
Oh, man.
So we did. And the great thing was I was on it with Whitney Cummings, and there was like a vagina joke of some kind. And I go, I've always wondered that about you, Whitney. What does your vagina look like? Like, just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And she was like, let me show you on your skin. And she, like, made her, like, crinkled my stomach together to make a vagina. And they ended up taking a picture of that, and it was one of the pictures that hung in the hallway, me shirtless, Whitney squeezing me.
Vagina gut.
Just looking totally casual. Like, but, yeah, the sweating sucks.
Yeah, man. So... let's get back to when I was talking to you. I saw you do the dog thing. Was that your like when you first put the guitar down? Is it kind of weird for you?
Yeah, but you know what? The first time I did it was a very tragic experience.
Oh wow!
My dog had died.
Yeah,
and, tragic death.
All right.
And it's the same dog.
Yeah,
but it wasn't about the weed brownie. That was like a year later, and so I got booked on a big TV show pilot, like that started shooting on Monday, and my dog came back from it's dark, really dark. Came back from breakfast with my wife,
which he had a French bulldog, which I love, and you and I love French bulldogs.
Oh, they're the sweetest.
So we bond over.
And I have another Frenchie now. He's awesome.
Yeah, and he was a nightmare. You telling me that story?
He's great now, but like
yeah.
But we get back, and my dog had gotten his head wrapped in a plastic bag and suffocated. I found him suffocated on the patio. Like it was this really tight dog food bag that was empty, and he couldn't, like, he was digging for dog food. He pulled it out of the garbage. Anyway, CPR all the way to the vet. Nothing,
Fucking brutal. How long did you have him?
7 years. He was like, my son. And, and we didn't have a kid yet at that point. And we did have a kid at that point. My real son was 6 months old. So anyway, I started shooting a pilot the next day, and things were so tragic, I put my wife on a flight the next morning to go to Seattle because I just couldn't deal with having to take care of a son and shoot the biggest TV show of my life for a week.
Yeah. What show was it?
It was this show that Natasha Lyonne had written. Yeah. And Amy Poehler was producing, and David Wayne directed, and Fred Willard and Ellen Page and Ellen Burstyn and Rita Moreno, like these crazy actors.
Yeah.
The first day I show up, so I checked into the Chateau Marmont. I couldn't be at our apartment. I wanted to feel like an actor, something that would distract me.
Yeah.
And it was a big role in the show. And so the first day I'm in the trailer, and Ellen Burstyn is getting makeup done next to me. And I'm just like, I told myself, don't tell anyone. You're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Don't bring anyone down.
Because that'll be brutal.
Be you. And then Rita Moreno walks in with her dog.
Oh no!
This little dog, and I'm like, they were like, "Hey Nick, we want to put your head back. We're gonna do your eye." And like, so they like had put my head back, and they're talking, and Ellen Burstyn's like, "This is such a cute dog," and then one tear falls from my eye.
Oh!
And I say to the makeup lady, "I'm so sorry," and then I lost it in sorry to bawling, and then like told them, and the next thing I know, like these two grandma like legendary actresses are hugging me, and like anything. So like every night I would go to the chateau and get drunk and fucking bawl in my room all night. And then one night on Wednesday, I text Jonah and I was like, listen, man, I need to get out of this cave that I'm in. Can I do a set on Meltdown tonight?
Right.
And he knew about the dog I had told him about. And he's like, of course, man, come on down. And so I walked from the chateau there, and I called my therapist, and I was like, I'm going to go on stage and just fucking melt down. I'm going to start crying on stage.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just want to. And he goes, Nick, I'm going to tell you, like, I don't do comedy, and so take it for what it's worth, but I don't think that's your job. Yeah. I think that maybe someone in that audience might actually be dealing with something similar, and they're actually trying to escape, and your job is to give them that escape.
Yeah. It's like people that do Trump jokes all night.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like, oh!
Yeah, like, and there's probably good versions of that, but
right.
He was like, if you're going to talk about Mikey, the dog.
Mikey.
He said, why don't you tell a good story about him? And from there to Meltdown, I didn't come up with it. It happened, the dog weed brownie story. But I told it for the first time that night. I still have the recording.
No guitar.
No guitar, and it crushed.
Wow.
And I did it like without losing it, and then from that point on, that's where my style just drastically changed. It just took me down another direction. And there was definitely that night, that night I was on some sort of level to where I just did well. And then the next few times, multiple 20, 30, 50, 100 times without a guitar, I would fall flat on my face a bit.
Really?
Just
That's because you're like starting over. It's like when I lost weight, I realized, oh man, like your guitar, my fatness was a prop. Like I realized, oh, I'm not fucking getting laughs for a full year this year. I was like, yeah, I would get laughs, but not fucking boom. And I realized, oh, I was a fat comic.
But also sometimes you just believe that, and that comes out on stage.
Right.
Like I had this friend of mine that's famous. I'm not going to name names, and he used to wear a shirt that was like 1 to 2 sizes too small, and he wasn't that. He was a little chubby.
Yeah.
And it looked silly.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I saw him do it, he like took off a nice shirt, had that on, went on stage, came back, put the shirt on. And I was like, I got to ask, man, like, why did you wear that? Why would you wear that shirt on stage? And he's like, oh, it's kind of like it's for that one bit I do.
Whoa, man. Like when I had the mustache, I had 2 monster bits about the mustache. And I go, I don't want to be the mustache comic. I'm trapped on this. And I shaved it off and lost 2 huge jokes.
I know. And then you realize you didn't need them. I mean, I had a joke in my special about glasses, and it's a great joke. And the joke is like so dumb. It's short. It's like, I say something about like how I didn't go to college or something, and I say, I know what you're thinking. Like, well, then where did he get his glasses? Yeah. And it's this funny out of nowhere, big, actually surprising big laugh or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, well, I got to wear them for the special now.
Yeah, right?
That joke needs to stay in somewhere.
Yeah, it's so fucking weird, man, how you get locked in instead of just going like, oh, just write 4 more jokes, because they don't come that quick when they're that big.
It's never as big because mustache is a buzzword, and it's quicker to get to the point. And
it's so obvious what they're thinking.
A lot of times the quickest way there is the best, Sometimes it's nice to detour, but it's funny. That's like doing a swear word in a joke and then wanting to do it on TV and realizing like, God, but saying fuck there means so much.
I know, right?
So, and then you realize it doesn't as much as you think.
Yeah.
But mustache is a bit different than a swear word. But there, sometimes some people rely on them so much, and sometimes I write a bit, and I swear I used to not, like my first album, you won't find a swear word in it.
Right.
My second album, there's a few, and I think my last one, there's 15.
Yeah.
10. They've grown every time.
It's so hard to be clean, right?
It's just hard not to talk
like you talk.
But also, I think I just swear more than most people. Anyway.
I swear like crazy. People email me and they go, I think you said fuck on your podcast 87 times. Like, you say fuck more than me. And to me, I don't even notice, because I don't have kids. I think people stop saying fuck and all that once they have kids because there's kids around.
Yeah, I do. But then it's funny how easy it is to like just kind of turn off and go when you go outside. But I also say, I think it's a liberty that I take for my job. We just bought this house, and so we have like people in the house, and like, for instance, like I'm with my real estate agent, and we've got a shower issue where like this glass door in the shower is like, it's a little dangerous. It's a little too loose, and there's no support on the top. And the guy's like, yeah, we've dealt with this specific one, and what you have to do is put a bar across. So the bar's got to hit the wall and come across to support it. It's not ideal, but we can get the same silverware, whatever, the same whatever. And I go, oh, that's nice. And I go, and that's something like if I were to, and I'm not saying that I do, but like get into any sort of like sexual exfoliation or what's that called where people choke themselves? Asphyxiation.
Yeah, asphyxiation. Yeah, erotic asphyxiation.
To a guy around like contractor to say, but if I do ever want to do like some sort of sexual whatever, erotic whatever, and it got a huge laugh. And my real estate agent, who's my friend, like told me later, he's like, I can't believe what you get away with saying around people. Like, you just say the craziest shit. and people fucking love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because no one's expecting it.
Yeah.
But my wife gets a little angry. She's like, you know, people don't think it's funny. You're just shocking them.
Oh no, I don't. That's why I love doing Meltdown more than any show, because there was a lot of different comedy compared to when I would come on. And you know, like if I was like talking about how creepy Disneyland is, that adults are riding with other adults in these, you know, ride, and they'd be like, "What's creepy about that at all? We love it," you know. And I'm just like, then I show them what's creepy, and they're like, "Oh, that's pretty fun," you know.
Yeah, well, that's the other angle of it, and I mean, it is a creepy thing.
Yeah,
Disneyland's very creepy.
It is. You got now.
I've never done it not on Xanax, but I also haven't done it in a long time, and I don't do Xanax anymore, so I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You do some Disneyland on mushrooms.
With my son.
Oh, no, not with your son.
I just imagine.
Where are you?
I imagine the next time I go. Oh, God. Rob Hubel. Do you know who Rob Hubel is?
No.
Rob Hubel, Paul Scheer, and Aziz Ansari were Human Giant. You know that show?
Oh, yeah.
And one year I did Bonnaroo, and all the comedians did mushrooms. And we were just like roaming the festival.
Yeah.
At night.
So great.
But Rob Hubel started a bit that he did the rest of the night, that everyone was like, just like not even saying it, got involved. Yeah. But at one point we're all walking and he goes, Randy! And someone walks by and he goes, have you seen a 5-year-old? I'm looking for my son. Randy! And so like, for the rest of the night, we were all looking for Randy.
Randy. First of all, the name is genius. Randy.
Oh, I can't think of a better name for a kid that lost in Bonnaroo.
Randy. A kid lost. That's a documentary, Randy. A kid lost in Bonnaroo. The film. I saw a great film last night, man. Oh, my God. You're a music guy. You know the Avett Brothers?
Oh, I saw you tweet about that. I do know of them, yeah. And I think I love some of the stuff they do, because I do have like a soft spot for like a bluegrassy kind of.
Yeah, well, I love either like rock and metal, or I go really extreme like Lucinda Williams, Jayhawks, Wilco, Sun Volt. But somehow, and I said it today on Instagram, they seem to have come out right when I started comedy. So, you know, I started comedy and then it was just blinders on. Comedy, nothing else. No music, nothing. And I remember at one point Burr was like, you need to, that's killer, you're fucking going for it, but you got to live your life or you're going to run out of shit to write about. You know, because I wouldn't go to movies, I wouldn't go to concerts anymore or nothing. And
I was so into sports, and the same thing. I like left sports for 8 years.
Yeah. Well, that's it. So they came in right when I started comedy, and I love Rick Rubin, who did their records. Mm-hmm. And here I'm watching this film last night, and I went because Judd did it, you know, and I was like, I like a lot of his work. I was like, I got to go see why he did this movie, you know what I mean? And I did an episode of Love this year, and I fell in love with that show, you know, like watching it, like, God, this is great. He does great shit. So I go to see this movie. I went by myself. I like to go to the movies by myself because I can't stand going with people that text or I don't know their movie etiquette.
Yeah, I love an alone movie.
Me too, and I do it a lot. So there I am, dead center at the ArcLight. This thing comes on, and it's one of the best music films I've seen in like 20 years. The flow of it felt so organic and real. But then as the music unfolded onto this thing, I was like, how did I miss this fucking band, man? It was moving, this movie.
Were they there?
They weren't there. I was kind of bummed they weren't there because once I fell in love with it, I was like, oh, God, I'd love to have them on the podcast.
Is it going to be on like iTunes or something?
I think so. They were showing it one night and then maybe Netflix or whatever. But wow, that fucking band is moving, man. What's your go-to music?
Well, I that's the one thing. I never left music. My music just grew as I started getting into comedy. Like my whole like knowledge and
right.
You know, I felt like I was kind of sheltered, like church and stuff growing up.
You were like a church guy, right?
Yeah, growing up and like you would be at church and I'm from Seattle, so like obviously there was a big music influencing the whole culture.
Yeah.
And they said to me at like church, they'd be like, here's a packet, like you'd show up and they had like a blue packet. And it would say something like, oh, you like Soundgarden? Then you would love this Christian band.
Wow.
And it would like put you into all these bands. And so then you start listening to these bands because everyone at churches and your parent, anyway. And you're also like I was definitely putting on a show for my parents. Like, I'm a real good kid, which I wasn't, but that didn't really come out for a while. But like, I really fell in love with like guitar players. It's like Neil Young was like, I remember like I found Dave Matthews, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, like, oh, this is rad. And I like went and saw Dave Matthews at the fucking, huge amphitheater in Eastern Washington.
Yeah, good. The Gorge?
Yeah, the Gorge.
Yeah.
Saw it a couple times. And then a friend of mine.
That's so funny, Dave Matthews.
Yeah. Well, just because it was like, here's a guy with a guitar, and I like that. And that's kind of what but it was before stand-up, and that's what I wanted to do.
There's all those dudes around then, too, like Jack Johnson.
And like that whole
Badly Drawn
vibe.
Boy. There's a bunch of guys. I mean, other than the hippie kind of thing of Dave Matthews. But
Badly Drawn Boy was great, but
Yeah.
then a friend of mine that had way better taste was like, well, if you like Dave Matthews, I mean, have you heard of Neil Young?
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, that's like it's like the real thing. And like, then I read
Yeah.
And then over time, like really got into like music that I missed out as a kid, and also before my time, fell in love with Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And just really like the type of here's the type of way I listen to music is I listen to a song 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Like-
That's what I'm doing right now with this Avid Brothers. They got one song that just knocked the fucking wind out of me, man.
Yeah.
Where I just floated out of the archive. I was in my car and I kind of like shed a tear for a minute how moving this tune was. Mm-hmm. And it inspired me to be better as a comedian. Whenever I see incredible art, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's super next level, it inspires me to like, I've got to get better. And that's first time it's happened in a long time. And The Big Sick was great this summer too, as far as like, wow, what a moving story of humans,
Well, I listen to and I listen to all that stuff, but a friend of mine really inspires me. And he's from the East Coast, but he lived in Seattle, and he was actually the drummer of this band called the Fleet Foxes.
Oh yeah, Fleet Foxes.
But his name's Father John Misty. And have you listened to him at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he inspires me a lot, like, because his shit is so next level, but his voice on top of it is like, I don't know if there's a better voice out there right now, like a guy that can do more. But he made a movie that for the release of his newest album that is, you got to just maybe write down, like, to look it up on what's it on
Netflix,
on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube.
It's just on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh wow, what's it called?
I think it's called Pure Comedy the Movie, because his new album's called Pure Comedy.
That's right. Yeah, I did. I read that.
Yeah. But it's called like Pure Comedy the Movie or something, and there's nothing that real about it. It's edited. My friend edited it like insane. It's so fucking cool and dark and weird, and
That's what I loved about this movie. The way it came on, it just showed you like the honesty of these two dudes, and I hope it was real.
And they're brothers, right?
Yeah, you always like.
Did you guys just come up with brothers in your name, or was that?
or anything like later on you find out like that's all bullshit or something. But no, it just felt so fucking great.
Have you seen that Kings of Leon one?
That is incredible. That's incredible.
That's also real. Like that's like oh shit when they're like
you can't even believe how hillbilly they are when they're at the wedding and he's marrying that model and the families are all there. You're like, what the fuck?
And then then the point when he's crying in the tour bus and his brother's like, "You're a piece of shit, man.
Yeah,
we're carrying you."
Yeah, man, that is fucking dark. Brutal, man. Yeah. That film is brutal.
Love it. I remember when I was 24, I was in Barcelona and I was like looking at like magazines at some store, and I saw like American band playing Europe, and it was Kings of Leon. I was like, never even fucking heard of these. They're American. I'm American.
Yep.
Yeah. And so then I like listened to some stuff, and I was like, and their first stuff is so different than their.
Oh, the EP.
Yeah.
To me, with Wicker Chair, I think is their greatest song ever. Wicker Chair.
And they had some good songs since, but not like that's like arena rock shit that they.
Yeah, right, into. Of course. But people really knock them, and I talk all the time. I'm like, how do people look at this guy walking up, Kyle Kinane looking guy? Anyway,
the listeners just have to believe us on that.
Yeah. It's interesting how people just stopped listening to Kings of Leon once the big album came out. And it was really weird to me because the one right after the big record is so dark and haunting that it's fucking incredible.
Well, and they're also like, this might come off really bad, and so I'm not going to say the person's name, but I'm friends with someone in another band.
Yeah.
And they did a bit of a similar thing where they put out an album that like took over a summer, like out of nowhere, and it's just like, what the fuck? And then they did that a little bit. What Kings of Leon did, they had some now that they're like in commercials and like they're still doing great.
Yeah.
But one time I was talking to him and I was like telling him about how one of my jokes. I should actually remember this now for my gigs this weekend. But like one of them was like, you know, my audience is basically like a lot of dudes that look like me and girlfriends that are wondering why they're here. Because it's always like, babe, you're going to love them.
Yeah.
Oh, God, you got to hear. I'm not even going to play anything. You're just going to love them.
Yeah. And I really feel like Neil Young's a dude band, you know? Like,
but like they're just, that's my, you know, like the audience, right? But I was telling that to my friend in that band and he goes, yeah, you know, because, and it's like good looking people generally, you know? And he's like, I'll tell you when we hit it big. When there were like some real ugly people in our audience. That's when we knew like the fucking tides.
Oh shit, we crossed over.
The tides are turning, baby.
We crossed over to the uglies. That is hilarious. Yeah, because when you first start going, like when I saw Kings of Leon the first few times, like Viper Room, it would just be like incredible Malibu rich girls, you know, and then like the dudes that just looked like they were in the band, you know.
And also people that are like, how did you hear about them?
Yeah.
I don't know. I found it like,
yeah.
People that just know about the inside shit.
Totally. Absolutely.
Which is all good things before they're found.
I've always felt like that guy that's on the ground zero, like this is great. And then I'm there. And then later on you're like, oh, but I never abandoned the band. You know, people just like, I'm off that's so last year. Kings of Leon. That's my sister's band now, you know?
Well, I mean, just like Father John Misty, like he's probably a guy that's pretty easy to abandon because I think there's a lot of millennials that like love him now. And you go to, I've been to shows recently where he just played Red Rocks. He just headlined Red Rocks.
Red Rocks, dude.
Which is insane. And like, I'm sure he's had that turn with his audience where it's like, there's bros there.
It's so rare for a drummer to go from the drums to like
guy.
Yeah, I mean Ringo Starr didn't do it, you know.
No, well, but he's not changing, you know, and which that's the cool thing about him is that he's not. And I'm not saying changing's bad once your audience gets bigger, but if you do stick to it, I mean, it's going to be pretty fucking cool. Like, yeah. But he played. So I didn't even know. I knew him from before, and I ran into him at La Poubelle, and I was like, "What are you doing in L.A.? You guys on tour?" He's like, "No, I quit the band. I just made my own album. Do you want? I'll Dropbox it to you." And so it wasn't released or anything, and he Dropboxed it to me. And at the time, I was doing a talk show at UCB once a month, and he sent me the album. And I just listened to it in one sitting, and I texted him. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And this is Fear Fun, the first one. And then like later that month, I was like, "Hey, would you ever want to perform on my talk show?" Like, he's like, "Sure." So he comes and does it. One guy in the audience filmed it. And Zach Galifianakis was my guest. So I was at a desk. Zach Galifianakis is sitting next to me, and Father John Misty comes out and plays this song called "Only Son of a Ladies' Man," which is this epic song. And in the middle of it, I have another band on stage, my talk show band, and they're all just kind of standing there, like not playing with him, but still there. Yeah. And the drunk guitar player reached over because there's a Dodgers reference in the song, and the drunk guitar player reaches over to the keyboardist and goes, "Doyers," you know, like the way that local Los Angeles Angelinos say Dodgers. Yeah. And he accidentally hit a key on the keyboard that like makes this huge fart noise for a bit that we had done. And Kyle, my friend that was playing keyboard, was like, "Sorry," you know, and Jeff doesn't know what the fuck he had just done. And Josh, Father John Misty, turns around and goes, "No, keep playing." And even though Josh had told me not to send it to anybody, I sent Kyle, the keyboardist, the album. Yeah. He knew the song. He's a very smart musician. He changed one little dial on his keyboard and played him out of the chorus. Wow. And then he was like, "And now stop." And then he finishes the song. It's on this video. I mean, it's like so perfect. And then next day, Josh, Father John Misty, texts me saying, "What's Gabe's phone number?" And I was like, "Gabe." And he said, "Your keyboardist." And I go, "Oh, Kyle?" And I gave him the number, and a week later, Kyle played with him on Letterman. Wow. And is still in his band. Wow, that's so cool. Right from the fart to the fucking fart. So I love how that shit works. It's kind of cool how that stuff works and how he like is also like he kind of stays true to everything that he's built. Yeah. Even though his audience now is fucking, you know, he also wrote a song for Beyonce on her last thing, and like, wow, he wrote one of Lady Gaga's songs. And
are you a Dead guy?
Never.
Never.
I just have never.
Yeah.
You know, and it's one of those things where I've said to people, like, just tell me, like, the one that'll hook me.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like something Rose. Is that one of the albums? Or
well, to me, I think from hearing what your music taste is, I think it would be Working Man's Dead, which is kind of their country country record. You know what I mean? Which is, it's, I think it's a thing that hits you one day or it doesn't. You know what I mean? It hit me out of nowhere a couple of years ago, and I'm like, same thing with Bruce, 15, I don't know, 96, Bruce hit me like, boom, whoa, out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that's like the time that Bruce wasn't hitting people.
Right.
That was like Secret God.
No, well, that's how you think it is, but he did a record called Goes to Tom Jones. So,
oh yeah,
fuck.
I remember that record.
And I think it's just whenever your brain is ready to accept something different. You know what I mean? You don't even know. You're just in a Starbucks ordering a coffee, and all of a sudden something comes on, and your brain opens for some reason and goes, "This will go right in this slot for the next 5 years for you." And you walk out like a robot, like, I love Bruce.
Well, and also like that's a big one. Like that's Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
And so you also over time build up. You know a name, and you don't like it, or it's not your thing.
Totally.
But you've never possibly even given it a chance. You just heard one wrong thing.
100%.
But then sometimes, like I remember, I don't know how it happened. I was on Spotify and like the Flying Burrito Brothers.
Oh yeah, killer.
A song and I was like, who the fuck are these guys?
Graham Parsons, Murders, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he influenced the Stones on Exile and all that.
But I didn't even. I mean, I knew who Graham Parsons
right,
was.
Of course, yeah.
But I didn't know about that band.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
they played fucking Altamont.
I don't like the White Stripes that much.
Oh, really?
I like some of the stuff.
Right.
And I'm not, and I have given it a chance.
Yep.
But the Rack on Tours.
Ooh, one of the best. One of the best. Good. I saw him at the Greek, and I saw
him at the Wilton.
Well, I thought that was what Zeppelin would be like if we were kids seeing Zeppelin.
With Brandon Benson.
Yeah, Brandon Benson.
Oh.
I had the drummer on the show. He did the show last year.
That band was so good.
Because they were like blues. They were kind of psychedelic. They were...
I got to revisit that first album.
Wow, the second one for me. The first one's great.
I don't even think I ever listened to the second one.
Oh, the second one smokes the first one.
Okay, I got to listen.
First one's great. My Blue Vein, all that shit. But dude, the second one, My Baby's on the Level. Wow.
I've heard that song.
Oh, we'll get into the record. It is great, man. I wish that band would get back together.
That's another thing, like... I heard there was one of the guys isn't that into it, or just hard to tie down, but The Darkness.
Oh, I never got into them,
I mean, that first album's just crazy. It's just a crazy album. It's like an opera. It's a rock.
To me, it was the singing. It's like...
Oh, yeah.
But the last record was killer. Some guy said, I'll buy you the record. If you don't like it, I'll give you $100. I go, yeah, fuck it. I could use $100. He bought me the record like a year ago. I put it on. I go, fuck, this is actually pretty good. They put a record out about a year ago. I go, I'm not going to take your money. I like it.
I saw him play at a Festival Supreme.
Yeah, I saw him open for the Stones.
Oh, that's
back on the big record,
That's crazy.
That guy Justin was a cokehead singer.
That's when you were working for him?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, he got into some major drugs, right?
Yeah, I love it. That's proper rocking.
Yeah. Oh, so like you were watching them play live all the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Stones would pick cool bands and have them play like 2 or 3 nights on a tour. White Stripes did it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeahs did it in that era. The Darkness did it. Black Eyed Peas. That's the juxtapose of it. Like Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what?
That's where you see that they're a little out of touch.
Yeah.
Like I got a thing like Seinfeld. I was headlining and running a set at Comedy Magic Club, and the owner sent me a text. He was like, "Hey, do you care if Seinfeld headlines the show?"
Right.
And I was like, "No, never. That would never." So I went and just did 30, and Seinfeld did 45.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I got to hang out and talk to him and everything, and I watched his set, and it was great. But there was a Star 67 reference in it.
Oh.
And it's like,
but he's running the old shit, right?
This was 3 years ago.
Oh, I got you. Because right now he put a special out. Which is all
maybe that was the same thing, but I don't think you would. I think there's some references you have to cut, even if you're doing old shit.
Right.
But I remember just being like, I guess you see a little bit here and there where they're slightly out of touch, and you hope there's somebody that'll wrangle them in and be like, listen, the Black Eyed Peas, it's not even.
Yeah.
Like,
I recently watched Seinfeld, a clip from his new special, which is old stuff, and he did this sock bit, and it was so fucking funny still to this day about how socks hate their lives. And it was amazing, you know.
And he's doing his old stuff now?
Yeah, and then he's
clips of him doing it before?
No, he's doing the old stuff, like really old from this first time he did like Carson and everything. The first year he's doing that stuff. Which I don't even know. I mean, that's how intricate his notes are and shit. He has all that stuff, you know.
And he gets to watch it all too. I'm sure he's got it all.
Yeah, right. And then he's going to do a new special. So you get to see from like the first year to now. But when I was growing up, it was like Jerry. I would go see him all over the place, like Vegas, Reno, Circle Star Theater. I just fucking loved him, man. And then Chris Rock, I would go see him. Who were your guys?
Well, Steve Martin and Martin Mull were the two.
Martin Mull, old school. I love it.
That's who my dad really liked, and I loved his cadence. And that's what really, the dynamic of speech, but also just his kind of throwaway style, where double entendres that you don't even really get when it's happening, and references that make no sense, but they're funny.
Yeah.
It's like this show right now that I'm loving on Netflix called Toast.
Toast? I don't know it. What is it?
This guy, Matt Berry, he's British, and they've done a few seasons of this show on the BBC Channel 4. And it's fucking amazing. And one of the things that makes me laugh are the names of the people. Yeah. Like, a lot of it, some of it he'll be in a booth, a sound booth, reading, like one of them, he's just reading the word yes.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, toast, it's one word. Let's just give it a shot. And he's like, yes. And they're like, yeah. Why don't you try a little more optimistic? Like the guy kind of. Yeah. And then he goes, yes. And his voice sells it. It can't even do his voice. And he turns, and then this kid from nowhere like comes up and he goes, hey, Toast, I'm Clem Fandango. Can you hear me?
Clem Fandango.
He goes, can you hear me? And he goes, yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango.
Yeah.
The amount of times they say it in which way, and it's like that's one example of one name on it. But like, Martin Mull was kind of the same way with names and references, hotel names a lot too. But did you ever watch Fernwood Tonight?
Absolutely, man. That is so long ago that it feels like another lifetime. I completely forgot all about that.
Him and Fred Willard.
Fuck yeah, man. That's why I love Wes Anderson, because you get into that, the lunacy of that kind of comedy is great.
And the style.
The style, the look, the clothing, the music, the cadence, the rhythm of the editing. Oh, man.
Yeah, my dad would play me like, and I think I was watching comedies that, because I'm 37, so like, comedies that were a bit older than me, but I love, like, I saw Fletch, like, right away. And then,
awesome.
Fish Called Wanda, the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, like, a lot of Steve Martin. The Jerk I saw really young. And,
Jerk, amazing, man.
And I still, like, when I saw it, I didn't get, like, I was born, to a poor black family. Like, that opening, like, things like that, I don't think at the time I even got that was funny. My dad was probably, like, looking at me like,
Yeah, it's like when I was listening to Cheech and Chong at an early age, all the drug references, you don't even know. You're just like,
you had no idea.
Yeah, you're like, oh man, they're saying fuck, and this is funny.
I hadn't even smoked weed yet, and we're talking about strains this morning.
Yeah, right.
This morning, Boris, our French bulldog,
Boris. Oh yeah, you got a new Frenchie.
Yeah, so we were I was up at 6, my son was up at 6:45, and Boris had come down acting like he was ready to start his day, but then just passed out in the corner.
Yeah.
And and it's just me and my son Towns, and I look at him, and we're playing with his Transformers on this table, and I go, this guy thought he was ready to get up, huh? And Towns just exploded in laughter and goes, that was funny.
How old is he?
And it was half fake laugh, half like a little laugh.
Yeah. He's your dry Ed McMahon.
He's 4 in November.
4?
Yeah.
Towns. Is he named after Towns Van Zandt?
Yeah.
Wow, really? That's dope.
I think people might, think that's really lame or whatever, but
not at all.
Because you see, kids are like, "This is my son Waylon," and
yeah. But what a great name! My buddy named his son Braden. I'm doing a bit about it right now. That's terrible, Braden.
Braden.
You're gonna get beat up. Gonna get beat up.
And the word,
Towns,
the
man.
word braid is in there.
Yeah, and it's Brenda and Brandon mixed or something. It's just fucking terrible.
And those, no one needs those names anymore. Some names should just die with time.
Yeah,
I think Brendan Walsh should be the last Brendan.
Yeah. Have you seen Randy? Anybody see Randy?
Who's naming their kid Randy these days?
What do you got coming up? You got some TV coming out and some movies or something, right?
Yeah, right now there's a movie I just did that was on. It was in the ArcLight on the 10th, and I forgot.
Oh fuck.
But I saw it at the Downtown Independent a couple times before that. But it's called Dave Made a Maze. It's a really inventive, wild horror comedy. It's hard. It's like Indiana Jones, really weird.
Where do you see it? Netflix?
I think it's gonna be on Netflix, but now it's on Amazon and iTunes.
Badass.
It won a lot of awards. It won audience awards at a lot of festivals. So.
And what else?
And this other movie called Mr. Roosevelt coming out that Noelle Wells wrote and directed. She was on SNL. Really funny, really great movie. Really funny boob scene. That always draw people. And I made a horror movie that comes out in February too, called Cadaver.
Wow.
But it's like a straight role, I play a paramedic that's like a nice guy, a single dad.
If you were on TV, like say a pilot that took off, would you still do stand-up, or would you just blaze out like a lot of people, man, they don't do comedy anymore, you know what I mean? Like, I keep waiting for Chelsea Peretti to come back, Well, you think she's going to come? Yeah. You think she's going to do
She had a baby.
I know, but you think she's going to do comedy?
Oh, yeah. I think especially, there's some people that have a baby, and everyone's so different.
Yeah.
And who knows? She's probably been fucking writing a movie or
right. Yeah,
who knows?
She's great. I'm like waiting for her to come back. Like people, they get a show or things.
She's so funny. She's one of the.
She's great.
One of the greatest. Isn't that a name?
I miss her around the store, man. Super funny.
Yeah, so
Plus
sharp.
they're crazy rich. What are they gonna do? What are you gonna come down and talk about? How rich you are?
Yeah, I know. I do see myself doing stand up, but just like I am now, I pare it down and do it more strategically now.
Yeah.
So when I'm in town, I'm a little bit more with my family, and I like that. I need that part of my life. And then I go through times where I'm like, you know what? For the next month, I'm just going to try and do sets, but I'm still touring,
Right.
But it would definitely be better to be doing more sets around town, because you forget, I'm really good at listening to sets, and so I'll listen to the last two sets of my last whatever club or bar or whatever I did. And then, so that way you remember the new nuances that kind of came out on stage. Because if you're not doing it a lot, something will come out on stage and then a week later you forgot.
Yeah. Oh,
and
hell yeah. I'm about to
something.
listen to about 30 shows from New York. I put it off and because I've been so busy.
I bet you're doing a ton there.
Yeah.
So much easier.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to listen to all these because I could tell. I remember mentally in my mind, the third night, there was something that came out great on this joke. I'm going to go back and listen to those in the next couple days and really take some notes, because it's rough listening to them. You're like, oh, God,
It's once you start, though, it's not bad.
Nope. Yeah.
It's rough getting to it.
You're right. I try everything around this house. I'll get to those sets in a minute. Wait, let me move this over here.
Yeah. Well, it's just the thing about that joke I was saying, the enough is enough joke. I was just forcing myself to write, whether, and I think that's kind of cliche. People are I just start writing and whatever comes out. But I'm just saying initiating a time and making it a thing that you just have to do.
Yeah.
There's no you have to do it. You have to listen to this. You're going to do it at 2:30.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think what I need to do is get back into after the gym, listen to the set and write for an hour,
I'll be listening tomorrow. I'm flying up to Seattle to do a weekend. I'll be definitely, that flight will be very Nick Thune centric in my headphones.
You're doing Seattle, that's your hometown.
Yeah.
Where are you doing, the Parlor?
Yeah, the Parlor.
Right.
I think somebody fell out, and since I just bought a house, I told my agent, hey man, I'll just take anything. Because for a while I was I'm not doing clubs anymore. I'm just doing rock clubs.
Right. You're doing rock clubs.
I've done a few extended rock club tours that I really like doing.
Man, I'd like to do that.
But the club thing is just a little overwhelming.
Because of the 5 shows, the check drops, all that shit.
It's just all different. And then there's things about rock clubs that are a bit different. They don't know how shows go, so you have to basically really
Yeah.
I mean,
hey, where's the chairs?
I send a package that's hey, how's it going? It's me, Nick. here
A
are
video?
the things. No, like just a letter that's just like, here are the way things are going to have to be.
And what are they?
Just simple shit, like just stuff that makes the show good that they would never do. Like something like this is the playlist that needs to play as people enter.
Right.
I want to curate the whole evening.
That's so fucking vital. I can't stand when they're playing like crazy like techno or mad hip hop when my audience is obviously, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Or when they're playing nothing. Oh my God, I walk in, I go, what are you doing? Put
it's just
something
dead,
on.
and the lights are on.
Oh, people are thinking they made wrong decisions.
I go up, but then I get there early enough to where I like go and say like, this is the lighting when people are entering, and this is the lighting once the show starts. We figure that out, just down to a T. Like, so that way you'd get there and there's no questions, because a comedy club, they do that to a T every night, and there's people that are like, in your position. Whereas like a rock club's like, I don't know, man, the band starts and then we'd stop.
Yeah, we just go outside and smoke weed.
Yeah, and then the band's done and we unload.
Yeah.
So and my tour dates are on nickthune.com.
Cool, man. So great to have you on the show, dude.
Great to
appreciate
be here.
it. I've watched you over the years, and it's great to have you on the podcast. And
it was fun to have that day at the airport together.
Yeah, we're just our flight gets canceled, so we're praying we get on the next one, but we're not. We're on the one after that, so we're just sitting at Burbank.
It's not even like LAX.
We're close from home. We could easily go home, but you'd get home and turn around. One of those. You got your shoes polished, your sneakers.
My sneakers polished.
Your sneakers polished.
Yeah,
God.
that was fun.
That was fun, man. Well, thank you, dude, for doing the
thanks
show.
for having me, man.
Yeah, and go see Nick out there. You got other shows besides Seattle?
Seattle this weekend. At the end of the month, I'll be in Philly at the Punchline.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
I've been dying to do that new one.
Yeah. I love Molly,
me too.
Who does this San Francisco Punchline.
Yep.
And I don't like the other club there.
Cobb's?
No, I love, they do that. No, I'm talking about Philly.
Oh, I got you. Oh, yeah. I love Cobb's.
Cobb's is great.
But Punchline's me. I love the small room,
Yeah, and then I'm doing like Denver in January.
Oh, Comedy Works?
Yeah.
The
Downtown.
all-time best.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it there. My first album I recorded there.
Yeah, me too. I just did a record
Sounds
there.
good.
Yeah, I love it. Mm-hmm. All right, man. There you guys go.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Follow Nick on Instagram and Twitter so you can watch him go after trolls and his Uber jokes. See you guys.